This incredible cleaning lady revealed a life-changing truth that shocked a millionaire. Lisa stood in the mansion, a perfect embodiment of hard work wrapped in humility. Her hands were calloused from scrubbing floors and lifting industrial vacuums, but her heart was full of dreams. Dreams for her 2 kids, Alex and Mia, who deserved a life filled with possibilities. But behind the gleaming walls and polished floors of Mr. Thompson's estate, hunger for respect gnawed at her. As she dusted intricate chandeliers, she could hear Mr. Thompson's voice echoing through the corridors, mocking his staff. "Can't you do your job right?" he barked. The words stabbed her. In that moment, each snide remark felt like a condemnation of her struggles and the sacrifices she made every day. With tightened fists and tears perched on the edge of her lashes, she buried her head into her work. But amidst the pressure, Lisa felt a flicker of hope. She was resourceful. Years of fixing broken appliances in her modest home had gifted her with a talent. She had once brought a second-hand toaster back to life with nothing but some tools and sheer determination. Determined to focus, she kept her eyes on the wood floor, scrubbing in steady precision, yet her mind was racing. Suddenly, the vacuum broke down. With a sigh, she knelt beside it, inspecting its insides. Mr. Thompson paused in his tracks, his cheerless demeanor shifting as he watched the cleaning lady work. Her fingers danced with efficiency, and his surprise was palpable. For the first time, he saw Lisa not as a mere worker, but as a master fixer. The walls of his privilege faltered just a bit. "Why do you know how to fix this?" he snapped, a hint of curiosity cracking his typical disdain. Something sparked between them, a connection, however unlikely. Lisa raised her head, gazing into his eyes filled with uncertainty. "You learn a lot when you have to," she replied softly, a glimmer of pride in her tone. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Just as their newfound friendship began to grow, tragedy struck. Alex got into an accident, leaving Lisa with mounting medical bills and the fear of losing everything she fought for. She scrambled to keep afloat, but as the walls around her seemed to close in, she felt the weight of her world crashing. Despair clawed at her. Mr. Thompson's world, once oblivious to such burdens, suddenly felt the impact of Lisa's plight. Watching her heartache firsthand forced him to confront everything he had dismissed before. Perhaps success wasn't about wealth, but about resilience, kindness, and understanding. And while the community rallied around Lisa, showing support and love she hadn't known before, a question hung in the air. Could Mr. Thompson truly change? Could he step out of his gilded cage and into the reality that thrived beyond his mansion? The clock was ticking, and Lisa's struggles were mounting. What happens when crossed paths could either reform or reinforce the barriers that define them? Only time would tell as their stories unraveled, leaving hope shimmering on the horizon. Days turned into a blur as Lisa juggled hospital visits and her demanding job. Each visit to the medical center felt like a chapter in another bleak story. Alex lay there, pale and still, the machines that hummed around him seeming like an ever-looming reminder of her precarious situation. She would hold his hand, whispering small promises of better days, but doubt echoed louder than her words. Meanwhile, Mr. Thompson watched from a distance, his heart conflicted. He had grown accustomed to a life where everything was easy, yet there was something undeniably human about Lisa's struggle. He found himself at the edge of the hospital waiting room a few times, contemplating whether to cross that invisible line he had drawn for himself. Could he be a lifeline rather than just the man who paid her to clean his floors? One rainy afternoon, Lisa sat beside Alex's bed, raindrops streaming down the windows like tears. An artfully arranged bouquet of flowers from well-wishers filled the room with color, but her heart felt gray. Suddenly, there was a soft knock at the door. She turned her head, welling up with a rush of surprise. It was Mr. Thompson, standing awkwardly in the doorway, drenched but determined. I heard about the accident," he stammered, a faint frown pulling at his lips. "I wanted to see how you're doing." Lisa blinked at him, torn between disbelief and gratitude. "What are you doing here?" The question spilled out, half accusation, half curiosity. Their worlds had felt so separate, and now he was crossing into her realm. "I wanted to help," he confessed, stepping further inside. "I can't imagine what you're going through." She wanted to rage against the entitlement that had long defined him, but instead, the sincerity in his eyes pulled at her heart. "You don't know anything about it," she replied, her voice laced with emotion. "I want to learn," he said, desperation creeping into his tone. "Let me." It wasn't typical of him to sound so vulnerable. Perhaps life had given him a jolt, awakening a sense of empathy previously buried under layers of privilege. Yet behind his earnestness hung uncertainty. Could he genuinely be a source of support, or was this just a fleeting moment of compassion? Lisa studied him, parsing through a complex tangle of emotions. With Alex's future hanging in the balance, could she really open herself up to someone like Mr. Thompson? Time stretched painfully as they shared a fragile silence, both teetering on the edge of possibility. Lisa took a shaky breath. "Alex needs surgery, and I can't afford it. I don't know what to do," she finally admitted, vulnerability spilling from her. Her words hung thick in the air, and Mr. Thompson's eyes narrowed as if a new light flickered within him. I'll help with the costs," he said, the commitment trembling on his lips. Lisa stared at him, stunned. An unexpected warmth filled her chest, mixed with caution. Could she trust this man who had spent so long dismissing her? "Why?" she breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Because everyone deserves kindness and hope," he replied, stepping closer. The distance between their lives shrank for the first time as understanding seeped in. But just as she began to accept this offer, doubt crept in again. Would this act of kindness come with strings attached? As they stood at this precipice of change, a familiar sound interrupted their moment. A hospital attendant rushed in to check on Alex. The urgency of the situation shattered the intimacy of their conversation. Would Lisa take the risk? Would the walls of both their lives truly be dismantled or just reinforced? The weight of the moment pressed against them, and they would soon discover which path they'd choose to follow, toward understanding or back into the comfort of their separate worlds. What changes awaited them in the hours ahead? The hospital room buzzed with urgency as the attendant took over, checking Alex's vitals with swift precision. Lisa's heart raced, both from worry and from the lingering tension of Mr. Thompson's unexpected offer. She glanced at Alex, his expression frozen in a serene sleep, untouched by the chaos that swirled around them. "How much?" she finally asked Mr. Thompson, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. The intensity of her gaze met his. She was ready to confront whatever came next. The honesty of their earlier moment hung between them like delicate glass. His expression faltered, but he pushed through. "We can discuss the details later, whatever it takes to get him the surgery," he said, his voice low but firm. The sincerity of it struck through her defenses, warming her heart slightly even as a nagging voice whispered doubts. "I can't just—" Lisa began, but he stopped her with a raised hand. "Let me help. You shouldn't have to bear this alone. You're already carrying enough." Her frustration surged like a tide, and she shook her head. "This isn't your responsibility. You might mean well, but I can't accept charity. Not like this." The tightness in her voice reflected the struggle within her. How could she let someone like him into this fragile space of her life? Yet she couldn't ignore the flicker of hope he represented. Wouldn't you do the same for someone you cared about? He stepped forward, his eyes searching hers for a connection. I know it's messy. I don't expect gratitude or anything. I just want to help. Lisa's mind raced, her emotions swirling in confusion. Yes, she would do anything for Alex. But was accepting help from Mr. Thompson equivalent to accepting a handout? Was it a failure or a lifeline? What do you get out of this? She challenged. Trust didn't come easy, especially when the person in front of her was a man who had lived a life of privilege, detached from hardships. He looked down for a moment, the weight of her words heavy in the air. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe I just want to be part of something real for once. Her heart ached at his statement. The vulnerability he showed shifted something within her. Maybe there was more to him than the boss she had once known. Just then, Alex stirred slightly, and her attention flicked back to him. The machines beeped erratically for a moment, a reminder that if she faltered, everything could slip away. Okay, she whispered, her voice trembling. Let's talk about it. But before they could delve into the details, Alex stirred again, his eyelids fluttering. Lisa's breath hitched as she moved closer, squeezing his hand, urging him to wake. Alex, I'm here. Mr. Thompson stepped back, respect softening his features as he observed the fragile bond between them. The air shifted, charged with a new kind of anticipation. Alex blinked, confusion painting his features as his eyes met Lisa's. What happened? He croaked, returning from the depths of his unconsciousness. Her heart raced. You were in an accident, but you're going to be okay. As Alex's gaze darted around the room, taking in the scenery and its witnesses, Lisa felt a surge of hope. Maybe there was still a chance. But as the moment unfolded, an unsettling thought pinned her down. What would happen if Alex needed care she couldn't afford, even with Mr. Thompson's offer? The tightening knot of uncertainty and fear curled in her stomach. Could her heart handle the weight of this newfound connection? In that fragile moment, the future hung precariously in the balance. Lisa reached out to touch Alex's arm, grounding herself in this reality, but deep down, she knew they were on the brink of something that could change everything. Would they discover the strength to face it together? Or would the walls of their lives tighten again? Alex's eyes blinked slowly, adjusting to the harsh fluorescent lights that filled the hospital room. He looked confused, bewildered even. Lisa's heart twisted as she kept her grip firm around his hand, trying to anchor him back to reality. Alex, can you hear me? Her voice was soft but desperate, each word a lifeline thrown into the dark waters of his confusion. He nodded slightly, though it seemed as if it took a monumental effort. Yeah, I can hear you, he muttered, his voice raspy and weak. What happened? Where am I? Lisa exchanged a quick glance with Mr. Thompson, who lingered at the edge of the room, his intention still unclear. She took a deep breath. This was not just about Alex's recovery. It was about confronting the new dynamic that had entered her life. You were in an accident, she explained carefully, her heart aching at the fear that flickered in his eyes. But you're safe now. We're at the hospital and... Hospital? Alex repeated, the word falling from his lips like a stone. What do you mean? His sudden panic broke over her like a wave, pulling her under. Alex, please, just focus on me. She squeezed his hand tighter, feeling his warmth, reminding herself he was still here. You're going to be okay. We just need to take it one step at a time. He frowned, confusion clouding his features. One step at a time. What does that mean? A lump lodged itself in her throat. She wished she could protect him from the reality of their situation. It means you're going to get better. We're working on getting you the surgery you need." The uncertainty etched into his expression darkened her heart. "Surgery? How long am I going to be here?" She glanced back at Mr. Thompson. He stepped forward slightly, sensing the vulnerability in the room. "We'll make sure you have the best care, Alex. I promise," he said, his voice steady yet compassionate. That was it. Lisa's stomach sank again. How could she trust someone who once felt distant, almost like a consult rather than a colleague? But as she met Mr. Thompson's gaze, the question of trust loomed even larger than her doubts. Was accepting his help a ticket out of this nightmare or a betrayal of her pride? "Don't worry about anything else right now. Just concentrate on getting better," Lisa urged Alex, pushing the doubts aside for the moment. He nodded again, his focus wavering, but before Lisa could say more, a nurse entered the room, her demeanor brisk and professional. Lisa moved aside to allow her space, feeling a rush of helplessness. The world felt unbearably large, and here she was, shrinking back into the shadow of uncertainty. As the nurse checked Alex's vitals, he glanced back at Lisa, and his expression shifted subtly. "You're here with me, right?" The sweetness of his whisper lifted her spirits, even amidst the storm. "Always," she promised, her voice thick with emotion. Yet beneath that promise lay unspoken worries. She wasn't sure how she could sustain both her own fears and his. The road ahead stretched long and daunting, and though she believed in the possibility of better days, doubt threatened to cloud her hope. Just then, she caught Mr. Thompson watching them, a mix of concern and admiration in his gaze. What could he see in this moment? Was it compassion or something more? Her heart raced as she realized she had more questions than answers. She had a million thoughts swirling inside her mind, tying her to the present while holding her captive in fear. "Lisa." Alex's voice broke through her thoughts, a touch of puzzlement resting on his brow. "What's wrong?" She opened her mouth to assure him, but before she could even find the words, the nurse interrupted. "We're going to need to move you for some tests soon." With that, Alex's hand slipped from hers as the team moved into action to prepare him for transport. The rush of urgent energy flooded the room again, tearing at the fragile cocoon they'd shared just moments before. Lisa felt her pulse quicken, confusion and dread swelling within her. The weight of their situation pressed heavily, and suddenly she thought, what if she couldn't bear it? What if everything fell apart right before her eyes? "Alex!" she called out, as he was wheeled away, their connection severed by necessity. And as the door closed behind him, Alex's last look lingered in her mind like an echo, one of vulnerability, uncertainty, and the faintest spark of trust. Would she be able to protect him in the aftermath of this turmoil? As she stood alone in the sterile room, the weight of the world bore down on her. What could she sacrifice to ensure Alex had the life he deserved? And would Mr. Thompson's promise of help come to mean something more than mere words? The air felt charged with promise and tension, and Lisa knew this was just the beginning. The quiet buzz of the hospital felt overwhelming as Lisa remained in the room, her thoughts tangled like the wires beneath the desk. Time stretched, each second filled with uncertainty. She could still picture Alex's expression, the fleeting moment of connection dissolving like smoke. What had just happened? He had slipped away to the sterile hallway, and she was left haunted by silence. She tried to chase the fears away, but they crowded in, insisting on dragging her back to the worst possibilities. Taking a deep breath, Lisa turned and paced the limited space of the room, her heart a wild drum. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. They had plans, dreams even. Suddenly, all of it felt like a distant memory. She grabbed her phone, fingers hovering over the screen. Should she call someone? There was no one to call. No family in town, no close friend who would know just how to comfort her. She set the phone down and leaned against the wall. The stark white paint was almost blinding, contrasting sharply with the weight pressing on her chest. She thought of Mr. Thompson. His presence stirred something in her, a confusing mix of doubt and tenuous hope. Could he really help? Or was his concern just a facade? Her mind meandered back to Alex. The way he looked at her held more than just confusion. It revealed vulnerability and a desperate need for assurance. How could she provide that when she felt like she was barely keeping it together herself? The door swung open with a soft creak, and she jolted, pulling her thoughts back to the present. It was a different nurse, one who smiled warmly as she entered. "Hi there. I'm here to give you an update about Alex's tests," she said, her tone laced with kindness. Lisa felt a rush of relief wash over her. "How is he?" "He's doing well so far. They're just running some scans, and the doctors will assess everything from there. He's stable. You're doing the right thing being here for him," the nurse reassured her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. Just then, the nurse's phone buzzed, and she glanced down. "Excuse me for just a moment." She stepped out of the room, leaving Lisa alone again. With all thoughts of Alex's well-being occupying her mind, moments passed, and she sank back onto the chair, feeling utterly drained. She couldn't shake the thought that she might be losing the only person who made her world feel like home. What if they never returned to the life they had? Lost in thought, she didn't even notice the faint sound of a knock at the door until it opened moments later, revealing Mr. Thompson. He stepped inside, a calm yet intent look on his face, immediately commandeering her attention. "I just wanted to check on you." His sincerity struck a chord. "Thank you," she managed, her voice barely above a whisper. He hesitated, and for a brief second, the weight of the world hung unspoken between them. Finally, he leaned against the edge of the bed. "I know this is hard. I promise to do everything I can for Alex, but you need to take care of yourself too." His words sent tingles down her spine. "But how can I focus on myself when he's—" A sob caught in her throat, choking her words. His expression softened, and he reached out, a steadiness in his gaze that brought a sliver of peace. "You can't be his strength if you're crumbling. You're more important than you realize, Lisa." Those words settled in her heart, but they also sparked a question in the back of her mind. Why did he care so much? There was something deeper beneath the surface of their conversation, something unspoken. Just as she was about to ask, the nurse returned, bringing news that Alex was back in his room. The storm of emotion swelled within her again, her heart racing. "Let's go see him," Mr. Thompson encouraged, guiding her towards the door. As they walked through the corridor, every step felt like moving through fog. She could barely breathe, her pulse quickening with anticipation. Whatever was unlocked when they entered that room would change everything, and she couldn't shake the feeling that time was slipping through her fingers. As they approached the door, she paused. "Mr. Thompson." Her voice wavered, uncertainty creeping back. "What if—" "Just remember," he said firmly, meeting her gaze with unwavering focus. "You're not alone in this." With that, he pushed the door open, and the moment stretched taut before her. She stepped inside, heart pounding in her chest. Would Alex even recognize her? And then she saw him, a fragile light in the swirl of machines and flickering monitors, and fear came crashing back. Would he still be the same Alex she loved? Or had everything changed? That question loomed like a dark shadow, and as she took a tentative step closer, she realized that everything was about to unfold. Would love be enough to hold them together? Or would the fractures widen beyond repair? The room felt smaller somehow, with Alex lying there. The rhythmic beeping of machines was both a reassurance and a reminder of the fragility of life. Lisa's breath hitched as she reached the edge of his bed, seeing the pale color of his skin against the stark white sheets. It struck her hard. This wasn't just another moment. This was a crossroad. "Alex," she whispered, willing her voice to carry love through the sterile air. His eyes fluttered open, and a flicker of recognition sparked in their depths. The blue of his irises seemed dimmer, clouded by confusion, or perhaps pain. "Lisa." His voice, though hoarse, felt like a lifeline in the storm. She desperately searched his face for the spark that always drew her in. Did he still have it beneath the fog of medical uncertainty? "I'm right here," she said, gripping his hand. It felt cold and fragile, and she fought the urge to pull him into her arms, to somehow shield him from everything. Is everything okay?" he asked, his brow furrowing in concern. That familiar worry about her, even in his state, melted her heart. "Not quite," she replied softly, fighting tears. "But the doctors are here, and they're doing everything they can." There was an echo of that doubt behind his eyes, something that twisted her stomach. He should be focused on getting better, not unsure of what the future held for them. The silence thickened, and she could feel the years of shared dreams suffocating under their current reality. "Hey," she breathed, trying to summon a smile. "Remember that time we got lost on that hiking trail? You insisted we could find our way back without a map?" He chuckled faintly, that hint of mischief breaking through his pain. "I ended up with 100 mosquito bites for nothing," he said, a small smile ghosting across his lips. "Exactly," she laughed through her tears, remembering the warmth of that day. "But we made it back, together." The room pulsed with emotion as they shared a moment, a reassurance that they had faced challenges before, and that love had always seen them through. It felt fragile, but real. Alex's expression shifted, seriousness creeping back in. "Lisa, I don't remember everything," he murmured, his gaze darkening. "What if I can't be me again?" The question trembled in the air, as if an unseen weight had settled among them. The raw truth sliced through her facade of hope. What if he could never return to the Alex she loved? Her heart raced, and she knew it wasn't just fear she felt. It was the undeniable reality of losing him, piece by piece. "You will," she insisted, the words escaping her lips more forcefully than she felt. "You'll remember. You have to." But the uncertainty lingered, a shadow creeping back in. Could she navigate this? She wanted to believe in them. She wanted to hold on to that dream they had built together. Just then, the door swung open again, revealing Mr. Thompson, stepping in as though he sensed the shift in the atmosphere. His eyes flicked from Lisa to Alex, taking in the fragile moment. "Alex," he said, walking closer. "How are you feeling?" Both Lisa and Alex turned their gaze to him. She hoped for some profound insight, a piece of wisdom that might ease the aching tension building inside her. I'm scared," Alex admitted, vulnerability etched in his features. "What happens if I can't be who I was? What if I can't be with her?" Lisa's heart sank, a fresh wave of dread washing over her. This was far from over. The stakes were impossibly high, and with each passing second, it felt like the world was dangling on a thread, ready to snap. Mr. Thompson nodded thoughtfully, his voice calm and steady. "Sometimes the person we think we are can change, but it doesn't mean we're lost. Maybe it's about discovering who we can become." Those words settled in the air, but they brought little comfort to Lisa. Did they have to rebuild everything from scratch? Or could love truly survive these trials? As Alex looked at her, searching for reassurance, that question lingered ominously. Would they find a way back to each other? Or was this just another step into uncharted darkness? For the first time, she felt the weight of her own doubts crashing down around her. What if Mr. Thompson's words were more than a comfort? What if they heralded an entirely new reality? And at that moment, a flicker of doubt made Lisa question every ounce of strength she thought she had. Was love really enough to overcome the shadows creeping in? With that uncertainty swelling in her chest, she waited for the answer, knowing one single revelation could change everything for Alex and for herself. Lisa watched as Alex's brow furrowed. The echoes of Mr. Thompson's words hung between them like a dense fog. She felt a chill creep into the warmth of their shared laughter. "Alex," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The look he gave her was searching, almost desperate, and it made her heart ache. "Remember when we talked about our dreams? We always said we'd face anything together no matter what. I don't know if I can be that person again," he admitted, his vulnerability cutting through Lisa's resolve. "No," she replied, forcing confidence into her tone. "You will be. We'll figure this out, okay? One day at a time." The promise slipped from her lips like a prayer, but her heart quaked under the weight of uncertainty. Just then, Mr. Thompson raised an eyebrow, sensing the bubbling tension. "Recovery isn't linear, Alex. There will be weeks where you feel lost, and others where things may click back into place. You might even discover new pieces of yourself. That can be a good thing." Lisa nodded, clinging to the fragments of hope woven into those words. "See? Change isn't always bad," she added, trying to bolster Alex's spirit. "Like in that movie we love, the one where the hero loses everything but finds a part of himself he didn't know was there." He shifted in his bed, comforting perhaps, but the shadows in his eyes deepened. "But what if I don't like this new me?" Lisa held his gaze, her breath catching. "I'll be here no matter what. We will find out together. I promise." She glanced at Mr. Thompson as if searching for affirmation, but the doctor only smiled gently, as if to say that love was indeed the strongest medicine. The door opened again, and a nurse stepped in, cheerful despite the sterile surroundings. "Time for some more tests, Alex. Just routine stuff, don't worry." She moved about with a fluidity that felt almost alien in the weighty atmosphere of the room. Lisa watched as Alex's face shifted from worry to skepticism. "More tests?" he echoed, a slight tremor in his voice. "Yep, just a few winners like the last ones. We want to monitor your progress, see how you're doing," the nurse said brightly, trying to lift his spirits. With an awkward laugh, Alex replied, "Guess they need to keep an eye on me, huh?" As the nurse prepped Alex for the tests, Lisa felt the need to comfort him wash over her. She stepped closer, holding his hand tighter, grounding herself as much as him. "You'll get through this. I know it. Just keep your focus on getting better." After the nurse left the room, silence enveloped them once more. Alex's expression shifted, a cloud of worry gnawing at his features. "What if I don't remember you? What if I lose everything?" His voice trembled, cracking under the pressure of his fear. The thought hit Lisa like a punch to the gut. Memories swirling in her mind felt like delicate glass, and the idea of losing him sent shards splintering everywhere. "You won't lose me," she said vehemently. "I won't allow it." His phone buzzed gently on the table. The screensaver, a candid shot of them laughing on a beach, glimmered in the dim light. At that moment, the tingling spark of hope flickered back to life in her chest. "I'll remind you," Lisa offered, her eyes locking onto his. "I'll tell you the stories, show you the pictures. Make it all come alive again." He smiled softly, the dim blue of his eyes flaring for just a second. "You think that'll work?" "I know it will," Lisa said, a fierce determination bubbling up. "We are stronger together. Please trust me." As their eyes lingered, the weight of their unspoken fears danced around them again. She couldn't shake the feeling that this journey would test them like never before. Events waiting just beyond this moment, capable of changing everything. But would they grow apart, or defy the odds, and reclaim what was theirs? The air crackled with uncertainty. A knock on the door pulled them back, and Lisa braced herself for whatever news would come next. The next chapter would begin with Alex uncovering a secret that could either doom their love or help them find their way forward into the light. The door opened slowly, and there she was, the cleaning lady, her petite frame almost swallowed by the oversized cart she pushed. She looked up, her eyes meeting Alex's, and for a moment, the stark white of the hospital room faded. She advanced with a soft smile, her worn hands moving purposefully to wipe down the surfaces. "Good morning. Mind if I come in?" she asked, her voice bright and laced with warmth. "Sure," Alex replied, taken aback by her cheerful demeanor amid the clinical dreariness that surrounded him. Lisa exchanged a glance with Alex, uncertainty hanging in the air. She knew how much he needed to focus, but this woman seemed to bring a breath of fresh air into the room. As she began to work, Lisa felt an interesting tension, a mix of curiosity and a desire to shield Alex from distractions. The cleaning lady hummed quietly as she dusted, and then she looked up, seeming to sense something deeper. "You're going through a lot, aren't you?" Her voice was gentle, like the rustling of leaves in a calm breeze. "Yeah, you could say that," Alex replied slowly, his brow furrowing once again. "Well, let me tell you something," she said, pausing her work. "Sometimes the hardest journeys can lead to the most beautiful places. You just have to keep your heart open." Alex raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "How would you know that?" She chuckled softly. 20 years in this job, and you see a thing or two. People come and go, but it's their stories that stick with you. Sitting up straighter, Alex leaned in. "Like what?" Her smile grew wider as she began. "Once, I cleaned for a famous artist. He was lost, drunk in his success, but empty inside. One day, he broke down in front of me, said he didn't recognize himself anymore. He'd forgotten what inspired him. So, I took a chance and told him to find his roots. Go paint the old oak tree in his childhood yard again. A week later he did, and he called it his resurrection piece." Lisa exchanged a glance with Alex. The cleaning lady's story seemed to ignite a flicker of hope in him. "That's amazing," he said, feeling his heart race at the thought of rediscovering something lost. "True stories make the hardest days easier," she continued, her eyes shining. "But it comes down to one question. What's worth fighting for? What can you hold on to when everything else feels out of reach?" Alex's face fell for a moment, and Lisa's heart tightened. "I guess I don't even remember what it felt like to be happy. To be me. Remember your passions, your loved ones? They're still there, deep inside," she urged gently. "Sometimes you just need someone to help bring them back into the light." Lisa's heart swelled at this unexpected connection. "And I'll be that someone," she declared, squeezing Alex's hand tighter, her voice steady with determination. A sudden clarity washed over Alex as he turned back to the cleaning lady. "How do I do that? Where do I even start?" Just as she was about to answer, the phone on the bedside table buzzed again, its bright light illuminating the room. Alex glanced at the screen and his heart sank. It was a message from his sister, an urgent plea for him to return home. Before he could say anything, the cleaning lady caught his gaze again. "Whatever happens next, remember, seek the light, and it will guide you back to yourself." The words lingered in the air, thick with raw emotion. Lisa could see it etched on Alex's face, the dawning realization of new possibility. But as the urgency of the text loomed in the background, the question echoed in her mind. Could the journey they had just begun withstand the weight of family, secrets, and a past that threatened to unravel everything? The moment hung suspended, pregnant with both hope and fear, as they faced uncertainty once again. Alex's heart raced as he stared at the phone, the bright screen almost mocking him. The weight of his sister's message pressed down, blending with the cleaning lady's wise words. He felt like he was standing at a crossroads, with one path leading him home and the other pulling him deeper into his own heart. I really need to think," he murmured, running a hand through his hair. The storm inside him roared louder, The cleaning lady nodded, understanding without needing more words. Take your time, but remember, words hold power. What you say to yourself matters. With that, she turned back to her cart, continuing her work. The rhythms of her cleaning were soothing, somehow grounding him in the chaos that swirled around him. Lisa watched Alex carefully, desperately wanting him to find a way out of this maze of despair. Whatever you decide, I'm right here, she said softly, her hand still holding his. He glanced at her, gratitude and fear swirling within. I don't know if I can do this. What if I'm not strong enough? Strength isn't always a roar. The cleaning lady chimed in, her voice steady. Sometimes it's just a whisper inside you saying, I will try again. The phrase hung in the air. Alex took a deep breath. Could it really be that simple? The cleaning lady suddenly paused, looking out the window into the bright world beyond the hospital walls. Every day is a chance to write your story anew. Don't let fear dictate your choices. With her words echoing in his mind, Alex's heart began to pulse with a subtle hope. The urge to flee the hospital, to go back home to face his sister, felt heavy in his chest. And yet, he had never felt so aware of the flickers of light within himself. They were small, but undeniable. Can I ask you something? He turned to the cleaning lady. Of course, she replied, her eyes twinkling. What's your secret? How do you stay so positive after witnessing so much sadness? Her smile deepened, and she leaned closer. Positivity isn't about avoiding sadness. It's about embracing every bit of life. The good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly. I remind myself daily to find beauty in the brokenness. Just as this room can feel heavy, it can also transform into something brighter with the simplest touch. Alex mulled over her words, and Lisa squeezed his hand tighter, sensing a shift in him. Maybe you just need to choose to see things differently, she said softly. I think I want to. I want to choose differently, Alex whispered, his resolve strengthening, yet still tethered to uncertainty. How could he connect his past, the light and dark, into a future worth fighting for? As the cleaning lady adjusted her cart and prepared to leave, she turned back to Alex. When you find what is worth fighting for, hold it close. It'll be the light on your darkest days. Just then, Alex's phone buzzed again, urgency drumming against his resolve. He glanced at the screen and felt panic rush in. It was a video call from his sister. Lisa looked at him, her expression a mix of encouragement and concern. Alex, you don't have to do this alone, she whispered, ready to lend her strength. He inhaled deeply, knowing this call could unravel everything. Would this be another reminder of the past that haunted him, or an opportunity for redemption? The moment stretched taut, as if the very air was holding its breath. And with a hesitant touch, Alex slid his finger across the screen, hitting accept. As he steeled himself for what was about to unfold, one thought echoed in his mind. Could this conversation be the key to reclaiming his life, or would it plunge him deeper into chaos? The phone screen blinked to life, revealing his sister, Julia, her expression shifting from relief to disbelief. Alex, is that really you? Her voice trembled, crackling with emotion. Yeah, it's me, he replied, uncertainty flooding his tone. His heart thudded against his ribs as their gazes locked. What happened? I was so worried. Julia leaned closer, eyes wide, searching for any sign of her brother she thought she'd lost. I had an accident, he told her, voice low. I'm in the hospital. He gestured around the room to confirm her worst fears. Her face fell, a shadow cloaking her features. I can't believe it. I thought you were... I know, I'm sorry. And suddenly all the fears he had kept at bay swelled up. But I'm okay, I think. They're going to help me. Just then, Lisa squeezed his hand tighter, lending strength. When he looked over at her, her supportive smile was a beacon in that dimly lit room. This was one battle he didn't have to face alone. "Alex, please tell me you're going to come home soon. We need to figure everything out," Julia urged, her voice laced with urgency. "Home? I don't know," he stammered. "Things are different right now." "Different how?" She furrowed her brow, pushing against his hesitation. He glanced at Lisa again, who nodded slightly, as if urging him on. "I don't feel like the same person anymore. I don't even know who I am without my memories. Alex, you're still my brother. Even when things are hazy, you're still you," Julia insisted, her tone softening. "We'll get through this, together." Her words struck a chord. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, warmth spread through his chest. Julia's fierce love reminded him of how much he had to fight for, of the life still waiting for him. "What if I can't come back?" he pressed, raw vulnerability breaking through. "What if I lose it all, my dreams, my friendships?" "Then we'll build new dreams," she said resolutely. "You're not going to fade away, Alex. You're going to find your way back. We're all here for you." Tears welled in his eyes as emotions swirled around him. The fear of uncertainty, but also the flicker of hope igniting somewhere deep inside. "But what if I can't?" He felt lost amid the swirling turmoil when the cleaning lady stepped forward, her presence solid and grounding. "Sometimes the journey to rediscover ourselves is the most beautiful part," she said, her eyes shining with understanding. "It's in the moments of doubt and fear that we often find the strength we didn't know existed. You just have to look for it." "Like the artist I mentioned," she continued, "he had to face that blank canvas, embrace the fear, and let it guide him to create something new." The words echoed in Alex's mind, intertwining with Julia's promises. There was a chance, an opportunity, to forge a new path ahead. He looked back at his sister, knowing he could never erase their history, the bond they shared wrapped tightly around them like an unbreakable ribbon. "Okay," Alex finally exhaled. "I want to try. I want to fight for myself, for us." Tears spilled down Julia's cheeks as relief crossed her features. "We'll take it one step at a time. Just promise me you'll keep talking. Promise me you won't shut us out." "I promise," he whispered, the vow resonating with newfound determination. In that moment, the room felt lighter, infused with a sense of possibility. The storm inside him began to settle, replaced by a flicker of resilience and courage. As the call ended, Lisa turned to him. "You did great," she encouraged, her warmth wrapping around him like a comforting hug. "One step at a time." He nodded, soaking in the moment, the intimacy of connection, the weight of decisions, and the prospect of a brighter tomorrow. "Thank you," he said softly, gratitude strumming through him. "Without you both, I don't know where I'd be." The cleaning lady offered him a knowing smile as she cleaned the surfaces once more. "Just remember, every moment counts, even the messy ones. Nothing's more valuable than being surrounded by the people who lift you up," she replied. He looked at Lisa, and then back at the cleaning lady. She had somehow orchestrated this moment, merging their stories in a way he had never thought possible. Alex felt gratefulness welling up again, richer and fuller than before. With renewed strength, he thought about the days ahead. A world brimming with possibilities stretched out before him. There would be challenges, maybe even more heartbreak, but he no longer felt trapped beneath them. As the nurse came back in, his resolve heightened. "I'm ready," he declared, surprising himself with the strength in his voice. Each word dripped with hope and purpose. "What's next?" The nurse smiled brightly. "Good to hear. Let's continue with those tests. Just routine, remember?" With Lisa's hand in his and the cleaning lady's inspiring presence, Alex took a deep breath. They were in this together, and for the first time in a long time, The future didn't seem so daunting. It felt achievable. Alex was ready to face the next chapter, one glimpse of light at a time. This journey, this fight, was just beginning. Listen, this is where you, as true fans, can step up. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next incredible stories of transformation and strength. Smash that like button. It literally feeds the algorithm and helps us reach more amazing souls like you. Comment down below your thoughts and feelings about this ending. I want to hear from you. This is the moment to show your support. And don't wait, not even one more second, to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Join our community, and let's spread this inspiring message far and wide.